Have you ever wondered if the conversations we have about our health are truly complete? We talk about our blood pressure, our aching knees, and keeping our minds sharp. But what about our most private, intimate lives? For our generation, that has always been a topic kept behind closed doors, a subject often met with silence. It's a silence that can be deeply isolating, especially as we navigate our 70s and 80s. But what if I told you that this silence is not just lonely? It can be genuinely harmful. As a family doctor who has cared for patients for over 3 decades, I've seen how this unspoken part of our lives can quietly affect our mental and emotional well-being. And here's the heartbreaking truth no one talks about. The shame and misunderstanding surrounding our own bodies can lead to anxiety, poor sleep, and a profound sense of loneliness that chips away at our quality of life. I'm not just talking about theories from a medical book. I'm talking about real people. I will never forget a patient of mine. Let's call him Arthur. He was a wonderful 82-year-old widower who came to me with a heavy weight of anxiety. After we talked for a while, he finally confessed, with great shame, that he felt guilty about masturbation. He truly thought something was wrong with him. Arthur's story is exactly why this conversation is so important. In this video, I am going to pull back the curtain. We're going to walk through 8 essential insights about sexual health as we age. Not with complicated medical jargon, but with simple, honest truths that will arm you with confidence and safety. Everything we'll discuss today comes from decades of listening to the real concerns of my patients, just like you. And please, be sure to stay with me until the very end. The 8th and final point we'll discuss isn't about a risk or a problem. It's about a simple mindset shift that could completely change how you experience joy in your golden years. It's the most powerful lesson of all. Before we dive in, I truly want to know how many of you have felt that this topic is off-limits. If what I've just shared feels familiar, please take a moment to comment a simple yes below. It shows me you understand, and more importantly, it shows others in our community that they are not alone. Okay, let's get started. Alright, let's begin with our first point. Number 1. The body's changing roadmap. So many folks I've spoken with over the years feel like their body has somehow betrayed them. They feel a deep frustration when their desire changes, or when their physical responses simply aren't what they used to be. It's a quiet grief for many, a sense that something has been lost or is broken. But I want to be very clear about this. Your body hasn't betrayed you. It's simply following a natural, predictable map that comes with a long and full life. Here's the simple science behind it. For men, a hormone called testosterone naturally and very gradually declines, starting as early as our late 30s. Think of it like a slow, steady leak in a tire, losing about 1% each year. This is why many men notice a lower sex drive as they get older, and why achieving or sustaining an erection can become more difficult. For women, the changes are centered around menopause, which brings a sharp drop in the hormone estrogen. Estrogen is what keeps the vaginal walls elastic and naturally lubricated. So, as its levels decrease, many women experience vaginal dryness and thinning tissues. This can make any kind of sexual intimacy, including self-pleasure, uncomfortable, or even painful. I think of a lovely couple who were my patients for years. Let's call them Robert and Susan, both in their late 70s. Robert confessed to me that he felt a deep sense of failure because his desire wasn't what it once was. And Susan, for the first time in their 50 years together, found intimacy to be physically unpleasant. They didn't talk about it with each other, and a quiet distance began to grow between them, born from misunderstanding. They both felt alone in their struggle, believing it was a personal failing. But here is the most powerful solution, and it's the essential first step. It isn't a pill from the pharmacy or a special cream. It is simply understanding. It's about looking at your body with kindness and recognizing that what you are experiencing is a normal part of the human journey. Acknowledging this truth is the first step toward releasing the frustration and finding new ways to experience pleasure and intimacy. Alright, let's move on to our second point. Number 2. Potential health risks to keep in mind. Now, I want to start by saying that for the vast majority of people, masturbation is an overwhelmingly safe and healthy activity. However, as our bodies age, we simply have to be smarter and listen more carefully to the signals they send us, especially if we're already managing other health conditions. Think of it like this. Wouldn't try to run a quarter-mile sprint without warming up your 70-year-old knees first. would you? The same principle of gentle caution applies here. The science is straightforward. Any form of sexual activity, even solo, is a form of light physical exertion. It naturally raises your heart rate and your blood pressure for a short period. For a healthy heart, this is perfectly fine. But if you are managing a cardiovascular condition, it's something to be aware of. The core reason this becomes more important with age is simply that our bodies have less reserve. They don't bounce back from strain as quickly as they did at 30. This is also true for those of us with arthritis, where certain positions or repetitive movements can cause a painful flare-up. This can show up as very real, very familiar symptoms. A feeling of dizziness, a flutter in your chest, or a sharp pain in your joints are all signals from your body to slow down and pay attention. I had a patient, a wonderful woman named Eleanor, who loved to garden but had significant arthritis in her hands and knees. She found that certain ways of positioning herself were causing her pain to worsen the next day. It was a source of great frustration for her. But Eleanor was smart. She began using pillows for support, finding new, gentler ways to enjoy herself without putting strain on her body. It's also crucial to remember that many of us are on daily medications for things like high blood pressure, diabetes, or depression. These life-saving medicines can sometimes have side effects that impact sexual function. The solution here is not to suffer in silence. It is a simple act of self-awareness. Pay attention. If something doesn't feel right, ease up. And always feel empowered to discuss these things with your doctor. If you understand the importance of listening to your body, please comment aware below. Now, for our third insight, which, in my experience, is incredibly important. Number 3. Taking care of your heart and mind. Often, the biggest hurdle older adults face with this topic isn't physical at all. It has nothing to do with hormones or aching joints. For many in our generation, the heaviest burden is the feeling of guilt or shame that we have carried silently for decades. It's a weight on the soul that can be incredibly damaging to our overall well-being. On one hand, the science is very clear. Engaging in sexual expression releases wonderful, natural chemicals in our brain, like endorphins and oxytocin. These are often called our feel-good hormones, and for good reason. They are powerful, natural stress relievers and mood boosters. For those of us navigating the unique worries of aging, health concerns, the loss of loved ones, this natural release of tension can be incredibly therapeutic and contribute to a real sense of happiness. So why, then, do so many people feel this guilt? The source of this shame often comes from the world we grew up in. It stems from outdated cultural beliefs and unspoken messages we heard throughout our lives that taught us that our sexuality was somehow inappropriate or something to be repressed as we aged. These old ideas can cast a long, long shadow. It can manifest as a quiet anxiety, a nagging sense of self-judgment, or a feeling that you are somehow doing something wrong. It brings me back to my patient, Arthur, whom I mentioned at the start. He was losing sleep, filled with anxiety, not because of the act itself, but because of the shame he attached to it. He thought he was the only one. He felt completely alone. Once he understood that his desires were perfectly normal and healthy, it was like a great weight was lifted from his shoulders. The most important action you can take here is an act of self-compassion. It is the conscious decision to permit yourself to let go of old judgments that no longer serve you. Please hear me when I say this. Your desires, your feelings, and your need for pleasure are a normal, healthy part of being human at any age. This brings us to a very tender topic, one that I know touches so many of you. Number 4. The challenge of social isolation and loneliness. When the house gets quiet, when the phone doesn't ring for a few days, when loneliness creeps into the long afternoons, it is one of the most natural human instincts to seek comfort. We all do it. And for many older adults living alone, solitary activities, including masturbation, can become a source of that comfort. From a psychological perspective, this is a completely understandable coping mechanism. It's a way to self-soothe. It provides a physical release, a temporary distraction from the weight of being alone, and a way to feel a moment of pleasure when other sources of joy might feel distant. This happens because, as we age, our life circumstances change dramatically. The loss of a spouse, children, and grandchildren busy with their own lives, or mobility issues that keep us homebound. These are the powerful real-life events that can pave the way for deep loneliness. Imagine the long afternoons when the only voice in the house is the television. In that profound quiet, the need for some form of physical and emotional release doesn't just disappear. It's in this context that self-pleasure can be a healthy and normal response. However, and this is an important distinction, while it can be a healthy outlet, relying on it solely as a source of comfort can sometimes dig the trench of isolation even deeper. It can become a substitute for the genuine human connection that our hearts and souls truly crave. The solution, therefore, is not to stop, but to seek balance. Acknowledge that this is a healthy part of your private life, but do not let it replace the effort of reaching out. The most constructive action is to take one small step. Make one phone call to a friend. Join one community group at the local senior center. Even a weekly coffee with a neighbor can make a world of difference in reminding you that you are not alone. Finding that balance is key. If you agree, please comment balance below. Alright, let's move on to our fifth point, and this one is for everyone in a long-term relationship. Number 5. The importance of talking about it. In my years as a doctor, I've seen that in a long-term partnership, silence about intimacy can be far more damaging than any physical change our bodies go through. When we stop talking, we start assuming. And those assumptions, born out of fear and insecurity, can build a wall between two people who deeply love each other. The fundamental reason this happens is that a lack of communication creates a vacuum. And into that space, our minds invent stories to explain what's happening. A wife might think, "He must not find me attractive anymore." A husband might worry, "She must be tired of me." These painful stories are almost always wrong, but they feel incredibly real when they are left unspoken. This is especially true as we age, when both partners are privately navigating the physical and emotional changes we've already discussed. The desire might still be there, but the old ways of expressing it may no longer work or feel good. Let's go back to Robert and Susan, the couple I mentioned earlier. Imagine the weeks of quiet misunderstanding. Robert was distant because he was feeling insecure about his changing body, and Susan was quiet because intimacy had become uncomfortable for her. In their silence, they both came to the same heartbreaking conclusion, that the other person had lost interest. Their problem wasn't a lack of love. It was a lack of words. This is why the single most powerful and constructive action you can take is to have an honest conversation. It doesn't have to be a grand, dramatic discussion. It can start with a simple, gentle sentence. Something like, "Honey, can we talk for a minute about how things are changing for us?" Or, "I've noticed things feel a little different lately, and I want to understand what it's like for you." Starting this dialogue can open up a whole new chapter of intimacy, one built on deeper understanding, compassion, and a shared willingness to find new ways to connect. It's about teamwork. Now for something a bit more practical. Number 6. Exploring new tools and techniques. There's a simple truth we have to accept. What worked for our bodies at 30 might not be what works for us at 70 or 80. And that is perfectly okay. Insisting on doing things the same way we always have, despite our body's changing needs, is a recipe for frustration and disappointment. This moment is not an ending. It's an invitation to be creative, to adapt, and to explore. The core reason for this is simple physiology. As we've discussed, hormonal changes can lead to dryness, and changes in circulation can affect sensitivity. The body's needs have evolved, so our approach must evolve too. Trying to force the old ways to work is like trying to fit a square peg in a round hole. It just leads to unnecessary struggle. So many of my patients have expressed this frustration. They feel that if it's not spontaneous and effortless like it was in their youth, then it's a failure. But that's simply not true. It's not about failure. It's about adapting intelligently. And the solutions here are wonderfully practical. The first constructive action is to embrace the use of a high-quality lubricant. Please, think of this not as a crutch, but as a smart, simple tool for comfort. A good, water-based lubricant from a store like CVS or Walgreens is inexpensive, usually costing around $10 to $15, and it can make an immediate and profound difference in your comfort and pleasure. The second action is not to be shy about exploring sex toys that are designed with our generation in mind. They make devices now with large buttons and ergonomic, easy grip handles that are perfect for anyone dealing with a bit of arthritis. This isn't about being taboo or strange. It is about being practical and using modern tools to enhance your well-being. It's about choosing comfort over frustration. Alright, let's talk about our 7th point, which is about knowing when to ask for help. Number 7. When to seek professional advice. I know from countless conversations that many people, especially from our generation, would rather suffer in complete silence than bring up an embarrassing topic like sexual health with their doctor. There is a deep-seated fear of being judged, of being dismissed, or of feeling foolish. This reluctance to speak up is perhaps the most unnecessary barrier to feeling better. The root of this hesitation is entirely social. We were raised in an era where these topics were simply not discussed, especially not with a medical professional. But I am here to tell you, as a doctor, that that way of thinking is outdated and is holding you back from receiving the help you deserve. Your sexual health is not a trivial or shameful secret. It is a vital component of your overall health and well-being, just as important as your blood sugar, your cholesterol, or the health of your heart. I promise you, your family doctor has heard it all. We are trained to handle these conversations with professionalism, confidentiality, and compassion. We are here to help, not to judge. A doctor can help determine if a physical issue is linked to a medication you're taking, or if it's a symptom of an underlying condition that needs attention. They can provide real, evidence-based solutions that you may have never known existed. Therefore, the most empowering action you can take is simply making the appointment. Treat it like any other health concern you have. And here's a practical tip. Before you go, it's always a good idea to call your insurance provider to check your coverage for such a consultation. A quick, proactive phone call can give you peace of mind. Taking this step is a profound act of self-care and a declaration that your entire well-being matters. If you believe in being proactive about your health, please comment health below. And now, we've arrived at our final and, in my opinion, most important point. Number 8. Embracing your sexuality, unapologetically. The biggest myth of all. The most damaging idea that our society has perpetuated for far too long is that sexuality has an expiration date. It's the unspoken belief that when you get your AARP card in the mail, or when your hair turns silver, that a vital, beautiful part of you is supposed to just disappear. This is the simple mindset shift I promised you at the beginning, and it is a profound lie that has caused needless suffering for millions. The core issue here is not in our bodies. It is in our beliefs. It's a mindset that we have absorbed from the world around us. But with age comes the wisdom to question the things we've been taught. The truth is, your sexuality is a lifelong, enduring part of your identity. It is woven into the fabric of who you are. It does not vanish. It simply transforms. In my practice, I have seen with my own eyes what happens when people finally let go of this myth. I've seen an 85-year-old woman's eyes light up when she realizes her desires are normal. I've seen an 80-year-old man find a new kind of intimacy with his wife after 50 years together. They experience a renewed sense of vitality, a deeper connection to their own bodies, and a quiet joy. This chapter of life is less about performance and more about presence. It's about quality, not quantity. And so, the final and most important action is not something you do, but something you allow. It is the act of embrace and accept. Acknowledge this part of yourself. Honor it, without shame or apology. Permit yourself to be a whole, complete human being. Your sexuality in your later years is yours, and yours alone, to define. It is a source of pleasure, a form of stress relief, and a beautiful expression of your enduring life force. Embrace it. And so, as we bring our conversation to a close, let's go back to Arthur. Remember my patient, the 82-year-old gentleman who felt such a heavy, suffocating weight of shame? After our talk, after he realized he wasn't broken or strange, something remarkable happened. He began to see himself differently. His anxiety lessened. He started sleeping better through the night. And this profound change didn't come from a new prescription. It didn't come from a pill, but from the simple, powerful act of permitting himself to be a whole person. He let go of a lifetime of old judgments, and, in doing so, he found a sense of peace. And that brings us to the ultimate lesson from our time together today. The most important truth to hold on to is this: aging doesn't end your sexuality. It just changes the chapter. And you, the author of this chapter, is. You get to decide what it looks like, what it feels like, and what brings you joy. But knowledge is only powerful when we put it into action. So now, I have one important question for you. What is the one commitment you are making to yourself after watching this video? It could be as simple as, I will be kinder to my changing body, or I will finally have that gentle talk with my partner. Please, share your personal commitment in the comments below. Your story might be the one that inspires someone else to take that first brave step. Let's inspire each other. And if you found real value and inspiration in our time together, show your support by giving this video a like. To ensure you continue on this journey with us and never miss another video full of life-changing wisdom, hit that subscribe button. It's more than just subscribing. It's joining a community dedicated to living our best lives together. Finally, think of one person, maybe a friend or a loved one, who needs to hear this message today, and please share it with them. You might just change their life. Thank you for watching. Stay healthy, stay wise, and I'll see you in the next video.